Okay, next up, we have Vanessa Pitusi speaking on behalf of herself and her colleague Andreas Altenburger from the Arctic University Museum of Norway. And the topic is the hosted portal of the Arctic University Museum of Norway, an example of how to provide open access to natural history collections.
Yeah. All right, can everybody hear me? Yes. Good morning, everyone. As mentioned, my name is Vanessa Pitusi, and I will be talking to you today on how to essentially make your collections openly accessible for everyone in the world. Before I get started, just a quick note on who Andreas and I are. I'm the zoological collection manager at our small museum, overseeing all zoological collections that we have, but with a focus on the wet collection. And Andreas, who can't be here today because he is at another conference, is the curator for marine invertebrates. So if you have any specific interest in those, you can email him. And I'm here today also on the behalf of GBIF that we heard a little bit about yesterday. So both Andreas and I are node members of GBIF Norway and also since November of OBIS. If you never heard of OBIS, I will enlighten you in just a few slides. And I would also like to show you what our museum looks like. This is it in all its glory from the 60s. We're both a natural history and cultural museum. So if you would come and visit us, you would learn both about the culture and the natural history of Northern Norway. And you will also find these pictures on our open hosted portal. And the museum had quite humble beginnings, renting the upper floor of this building owned by the church for its first 22 years, where people sort of came every Sunday to look at the exhibition. So it was only open one day a week until they built this beautiful building, which still stands nowadays in the middle of the city, where it housed the exhibitions and collections that they started curating. Now it's only used for art exhibitions. And then in the 1960s, we moved to the southern tip of the island where Tromsø is located. So it's very pretty. We have a research group at the museum, which I am part of, called NatSCA, called the Scientific Collection-Based Taxonomy and Biosystematics. Don't ask me how they got the abbreviation from that. And our focus is on zoological, botanical, and paleontological collections, specifically focusing on the Arctic and the high north, so northern Scandinavia, doing everything from obviously taxonomy to genetic studies. So if you're interested in any of that, have a look at our website. And this is a short overview of the collections that we have. We organize them systematically. And we have around 200,000 registered objects. So we're not super big. This is just a zoological collection. The numbers are a bit different for the other collections, but we obviously have a lot more unregistered material waiting to enter the collections. And since Andreas joined the museum around 5 years ago, there's been a really big push towards open access. So in a way, opening the doors for everyone to see what we have, not just on display, but also behind the scenes. And we do that in 3 parts, through GBIF, our open hosted portal, and now since November, also with OBIS. You probably all know what GBIF is, but in case you don't, it's the Global Biodiversity Information Facility. It is essentially a website that provides open and free access to biodiversity data, which is not limited just to research data, but also can include museum collections. And the way it works is that a country can decide to become a member. And if the country, because this happens on the ministry level, is not too sure, you can also have a trial period of 3 years where you don't pay any membership fee. And then if you're like, you know what, this is great, you can start paying. And it's not the institutes that pay, it's the country. So the UK is a participating node, which is great for all of you if you think after this talk, you know what, I want to do this as well. So if you would go onto GBIF, you would find all of our sub-collections here, and you can just click on it, and then you can see all the different kinds of species that we have and all the metadata that is attached. And if we have photos, the photos will also be available. So it's a really great resource. And we see that since we've put the data online, we've actually had over 1,000 citations. So people are looking at this data. So it's a very useful source to, in a way, increase your visibility, even if you're a small museum like we are. OBIS, very similar to GBIF, but in this case, it's run under UNESCO. It's only a marine data aggregator. GBIF has both terrestrial marine data, museum collections, but OBIS focuses solely on marine data. But again, we all have specimens from the marine environment. And actually, because there are so many platforms out there, people aren't always sure where to go. So what we're working on is connecting the two data aggregators. There's 20 nodes worldwide. We have now become part of this network, representing 56 countries, and there's 50 million species records. So it is quite a powerful tool to use. Our workflow is as follows. So we have our specimen, then we enter it into our collection management system, if you use one. We then go to the integrated publishing toolkit, which then goes onto GBIF, and ArtsCard, which is a species distribution map that is available for Norway. But I know this seems very straightforward. Obviously, there's many more little hidden steps involved, so I'll just break it down for you. We can obviously have our field specimen from collection. We can have it in the collection, but it's unregistered. And then you identify it and you want to register it, or it comes from a donation. So you prepare your Excel spreadsheet with all the attached metadata. And then for us, it goes into our collection management system is called Musit. It's very 90s. And you enter all the metadata that you have or batch uploaded in the Darwin core format. And we use a taxonomic backbone that is attached to it that is called Nortaxa, very specific for Norway. And the really neat thing for us is everything is linked up. So when we upload it, it actually automatically is sent to the integrated publishing toolkit from GBIF. However, if you're sitting here and you're thinking, actually, we don't have a collection management system, we only have an Excel spreadsheet. That is not a problem because you can skip the middle step and go directly to the IPT. So if you have a lot of data sitting on your laptop that you want to get out there, not a problem at all. And then once it's on the IPT, doesn't mean that it's automatically online. So you don't have to be like, oh my God, I've made mistakes. This is terrible. I just published false data. You can actually go through it once it's in this toolkit, see that everything is ready. And once you're happy with it, you just click publish. And then it goes online onto GBIF. And now what we're working on is also setting up the same pipeline for OBIS. And then for us, it's one step further. So if you're interested to see what species we have in Norway, you can go onto Artsdatabanken, and then you can essentially just filter for regions, for species, for certain areas in Norway, and it will give you the whole overview. So that's a really nice pipeline to have, and if you can establish that, I would recommend it. GBIF, obviously, if you would go on, just some powerful numbers to show it is a powerful tool. And you can see it's being used in peer-reviewed papers. Yeah, just some more numbers. So the nice thing about it is that you can also upload images, videos, audio files. They don't sit directly sort of on the website. They're connected to a server, but that can all be set up with the help of the node. But it gives visibility. And you can see the data use of GBIF is quite well established in the north. And then based on the talk yesterday, obviously you can see it has very good uses in conservation, but also food security, climate change modeling, and human health. So again, your collections could be contributing to this kind of research. And again, to put it a little bit into perspective, because I know it can be a little bit abstract and a lot to take in, it's time for a story. So imagine you're on an icebreaker in the middle of the Arctic Ocean for 5 weeks. And you're collecting lots and lots of animals for your research or for your collection or for both. And you come home and you have line after line after line after line in your Excel sheet. So now you're left with a decision. Do you want this to be on your laptop, locked up behind doors at your own institution, with only you having access to it or a few selected people? Or do you want to open it up in a way to the whole world? And the answer is you want to open it up to the whole world. So you can do that through GBIF, or please scan the QR code if you want to see our open hosted portal. You can do it by hosting your own collections on your website. So if you go on our open hosted portal, this is what it looks like. A nice and simplified version in a way of what GBIF offers. So GBIF is a little bit more for people that work within research or museums and they know how to download data. Whereas this portal is more for the general public, for students that are interested, for teachers that might be coming to your museum or want to start working with you. And it just, again, uses the sub-collection code, splits it into the different collections that you have. And then they can just be like, oh, I just want to explore what kind of various marine animal taxa the museum has. And then they can also filter. So it's a more simplified version and it works really well. The way this is set up is through GitHub, but if you have questions to this, just come and ask me during the break. And your question might be, why bother? Because this seems like a lot of effort. The simple answer obviously is visibility for your museum and yourself and anyone that works with the collections, but also because there is still a really big need for digitization. It's estimated that there's up to 3 billion specimens in collections, but actually only 10% of that is available online. So that's very, very, very little. And we all know how much knowledge there is locked up in our own collections. Because all the animals or all the objects in the collections are treasure troves of information that can be used by people for research and for outreach. So that is really one of the biggest motivations for us, for people to know what we have and what they can use if they want. So the impact we have seen, obviously, is publications and the use of images in publications, both light microscopy. We also do a lot of 3D scanning, and so XRF, so that you can do evolutionary studies. We've seen that has a really great impact, and we do it on insects that you can see with your bare eye, but we also do it on marine meiofauna, so these animals that live inside the seafloor, which are up to 1 millimeter in size. And you just scan them, and then you have a 3D overview of what they look like. It's also very fun to show this to the public. We've had master students working with modeling, so using all the data available on marine invertebrates in the Arctic and seeing how their distribution has changed due to climate change. And it's all open access. And we also have had a journalist reach out who wrote an article about the first female zoologist in Norway. She collected slugs, and we have these slugs in our collection. So she reached out, asked us, do you have some of her specimens? Could you take some pictures? And then we sent them to her. So if you're in the UK, please scan this barcode. It will take you to the GBIF Node website. We have actually contacted them and said, hey, we're giving this talk. Can people contact you? So they're waiting all of your messages. Please give them work. And before I finish, I also want to say it's actually really great to keep track of GBIF, because they have now, if you have a lot of untranscribed records and labels, they now have an AI tool that can do that for you, and it works extremely well. We're using it, and we have a lot of old Norwegian writing, which is a pain to read. So if you have any questions, either ask or just email us later on if you're still unsure on how to set this up. Thank you.
Thank you, Vanessa. GBIF is very close to my heart, so that was a great talk. I have a question. What proportion of your collections are on GBIF?
So actually all of our collections, at least the zoological ones. For the rest, because it doesn't, so this is the thing, a lot of the tools on GBIF are in development. But we're also looking at if we can put our geological collections online. We have a lot of genetic work at our museum. So we're also looking at how can we make everything we have attached to that available, but all of our zoological collections are findable.
You use the Darwin core, obviously.
Yeah.
Just you kind of have to if you're going on GBIF. When you first started this process, with the historic specimens, the kind of older ones, did you have any issues around the georeferencing for those specimens, and how did you resolve that?
So yes, we have, and you will see, especially for our mammal collection, if you would go on it, you can see that the accuracy around the coordinates is really, really low. We haven't really fully resolved it, but in essence, what we have to go is through the old journals. So we go to our archives when we have time, and then you just start looking through and seeing if you have any references to who collected it, when and where. So that is the only way. Otherwise, we actually have people, they just contact us if they're interested. And then we just have to openly say, we can give you, for example, 3 of the 10 specimens we have if you need the location, because for the rest, it's like Arctic Ocean. It's like, that's a big place.
Thank you. What is the cost of using 3D scanner, and what is the outcome of it? Can you?
The cost, I don't know. I don't get the bill, luckily. I just sent the samples. And we have funding to finance it. So that's all I can say. If you want to know about the cost, you would have to email Andreas, because he's the head of the project. And the outcome is actually for evolutionary studies. So we have a PhD student that is super interested in the morphology of different taxa. So he's scanning like brachiopods and the meiofauna and looking how they have changed through time, if they have changed, and also how they're adapted to the environment. So it's mainly for evolutionary studies and looking at morphology.
I was interested that you use OBIS as for your marine platform. What about worms? You know, the World Marine Register of Marine Species. I know that's another very big database. And are you in competition, or do you work together with them?
So OBIS actually uses the IDs from worms. And this is now something that, because GBIF doesn't, this will now be integrated. So we don't see it as competition. It's just what we're trying to do, and sort of what the motivation is between all these organizations is to sort of connect them. Because what we have seen, and also talking to people, is that when you're a researcher and you're looking for, let's say, open accessible data, there's so many platforms, and some are better than others in terms of how the data is uploaded. So what we're actually trying to do is just connect. And in a way, if you go to one platform, you'll find exactly the same data on the other one in the same format, so you know you can use it. So it's more working together.
I have another question. It's about your geology data, and are you sharing that on GBIF or elsewhere?
That I can unfortunately not answer. If you go on the open hosted portal, you'll find the contact details to our collection manager and the curator of geology there. That's the only advice I can give.
Thank you, Vanessa. Fantastic talk.